Nothing's really changed other than, you know what, where's my phone? Oh, it's over there. Let's just change the charging port and then you can spend more money. Yeah, great. But not a lot changes. So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to change my niche, I'm going to change my brand colors, or I'm going to run a completely new program, think about the cascading effect that's going to have on everyone around you. So important to stick to your fucking guns. So important to do that. And like I say, that literally goes across every single thing here. So a great example of that is, if you were to do a launch, and you basically launch at men, and then 4 months later, you do a launch at women, and then 4 months later, you do a launch at low ticket, and then 4 months later, you do a launch at high ticket, people are going to be sat there being like, I'm just going to wait for the launch that fits me, because they keep changing it, so at some point, it's going to fit me, right? You need to fuck off that mentality. You need to be going all in on one specific thing. Otherwise, you're just going to confuse your audience. Because every single time that you change something, there will typically be a short-term dip. Now, the short-term dip is usually roughly 20%. Bearing in mind, I was the king of changing shit all the time, and we would track this stuff. And when I say a dip of 20%, generally that's like about a 20% revenue dip. So we'd like change a massive thing about the program or whatever. So if you are gonna make a change, understand that if you have a dip of 20%, and it takes a period of time for that dip to come back out again, I believe if you're gonna make a change, it needs to be significant enough and you're confident enough that you're gonna see a 40% gain. Does that make sense? Because if it's 20% dip for a long-term 5% gain. So I'm gonna use simple maths on this just so we can all understand it. Let's say you're hitting like 10K months and you make a massive change, you're like, probably gonna dip to 8 for a period of time, and then I might jump up to 12 after that. Is that really worth it? Or is it worth sitting down as a team, understanding exactly culturally, how does this fit into our culture? How does this fit into the direction of the business? How does this fit into the rituals we're currently following? Is it gonna have that significant of a jump? If it is, right, we make the change and we bite the bullet. Because the values need to stay the same, and the mission can't change. Okay, the most successful schools are the most successful because of appreciation. They stand out the front of school and greet students and thank them when they leave. So what are your appreciation systems and how do you appreciate your team? What I'd love you guys to do right now, any staff members you're working with, write down their names and then write next to them their love language. If you get stuck, you have a cultural problem. You should know your staff members' love languages. Now, egos and divas will be the killer of your culture. And this is why, ultimately, you just don't want to hire these guys. You want to be making sure that you've vetted them thoroughly before they are joining onto the team. So you could be Albert Einstein, but if you give out attitude, think you're better than anybody else, then it's just not going to be a good cultural fit. Now, the next thing to think about is, now that you've understood like what the love language is for your team, how do you celebrate your people? How do you allow them to feel appreciated? Again, that's a cultural thing. You know, are you shouting them out in a group? Are you posting about it online? Are you sending them gifts? Are you remembering their birthdays? Remembering their partner's birthdays, their kids' birthdays. One thing I used to do, this is a really random side tangent. You know, Stevie Wonder, Happy Birthday. Every single check-in I did, or every staff call, or anything like that back in the day, when it was someone's birthday, I'd just load that up for a minute and we'd have a little song and a dance and then we'd move on. That was just a little thing. I know it seems so fucking dumb, but people would start seeing it in my stories and they were like looking forward to getting the Stevie Wonder dance from me. That was just a thing that we did. So yeah, something worth bearing in mind. So, meetings 5 minutes early, wake up before the sun, sharp, cameras on with energy, work as if everyone is watching, and speak to others as if it gets fed back. Now again, you can write these 5 things on left-hand side, but I want you to think about like, right, what are the cultural things that we do for each of these 5? So for meetings, what's your cultural thing? Is it a weekly thing, a monthly thing, a daily thing? What's the time? How do you show up? What time do you all wake up? How do you show up? How do you work? And then how do you speak to others? Okay, so I think we've literally got 2 slides left. Now, unfortunately, you are gonna have to get rid of people who don't match your culture, because it has to be fun to work for you. If it's not fun to work for you, if people aren't cracking jokes with you, enjoying their time together, they're constantly feeling like they're being told off, then they're not going to be operating at their best. So you need to be the pilot. Now, the reason I've added this into the end of my presentation, I'm a chronic oversharer, and I was like really trying not to tell this story to anyone. I'm glad that I haven't. So I'm going to tell you guys a little story at the end of this about what happened on my, it was the first business class flight that I'd ever done to get to here. And I think this is the final slide.